Thank you. Um, my name's Carmen Capozzi. I'm from Westmoreland County. I lost my son Sage March 5th, 2012. He was 20. I spent 2 days on the floor when Sage died. And the second day I heard his voice say, "Dad, get up, they're not bad kids, you have to help." And I got up and went home. And a young man showed up at my house 8 days later with a laptop. It was a memorial page for Sage. And I read this beautiful letter about my son. The president of the college wrote this beautiful letter. And I got mad because I couldn't understand why everybody I went to had no compassion for what I was going through. They would just, point the finger or, look at me and my wife like we were the problem, that we weren't good parents. I was a wrestling coach. I was a baseball coach. Sage taught me how to golf. 2 days a week we were golfing. We were musicians. Me and Sage used to sit in the basement and write songs together. They had no compassion for what I was going through. I stayed silent. We found out Sage was using heroin and pills at 17. He asked for the day off from work. And I said, "Yeah, go ahead, bud. It's a summer. Go golf." Him and the star football player of his high school and another boy never went golfing. I got a call from the police. They were breaking into cars. And Sage admitted the truth. He goes, "Dad, I'm sorry, I'm doing pills and heroin." And I said, "When? When did this start?" He said that at 14, some kid that was on his baseball team that I coached, somebody handed him a stamped bag and said, "Just snort it, you won't become addicted." And Sage and this boy sat and contemplated, should we or shouldn't we? And he said, we just wanted to see what it would do. And he struggled. From 17 to 20, I 302'd him. I would have my boy one day, and then I would have a demon the next. I actually was afraid of him. I used to tell my wife, "Look, you might have to call the police. I don't know if I can hold him back anymore." It was hell. But that day on my couch, I looked at that kid and I said, "I need to create awareness, and I need an army of people." And he just went, "Oh, cool, dude, Sage's Army." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Give me a minute." He started a Facebook page. I went to work the next day to check on my guys. And I came home. I opened up that page, and in 24 hours, 1,800 people from all over the United States signed up, asking me for help or telling me their story. And my wife said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to talk to them." I've met so many amazing people. I've met them in DC. I've met people from California, Buffalo, New York, Florida. One gentleman that I met, Avi Israel. Avi lost his son, Michael. His son, Michael, had Crohn's disease. He was prescribed Oxycontin since he was 15 years old. By the time he was, 16, he was addicted. In and out of rehabs. Finally, one day, Michael came in. He was 20 years old. He said, "Dad, I can't take this no more." He said, "All right, Michael, we're going to get you off this stuff." They got to put him back in another rehab because the doctors don't know how to fix it. They're not trained in addiction. They're trained to dish it out, but they're not trained to get you off the pills. Michael said, "Dad, I can't take this. I'm hearing voices." He said, "Michael, we're going to take care of this tomorrow." Michael went in the bedroom and shot himself in the head. When I met Avi in Washington, we held each other. I knew what he was going through. He knew what I was going through. Another father, David Humes, he came to Pennsylvania to help me fight for the Narcan bill, the prescription database, and the 911 Good Sam. He, his son was a jock. He was at a party and ate an Oxycontin. Overdosed. His buddies put him in a car, took him to the hospital. Figured out they'll find him in his car. They never found him. He died. So this has just evolved. I mean, Sage's Army started 10 days after Sage died, and it hasn't stopped. I have not stopped since. I didn't know what my role was in Sage's Army. I used to think I had to do everything. I used to think I have to get out there, I gotta do this, I gotta make this happen, I gotta create rehabs, I gotta create better stuff. Well, then God told me, you don't have to do it, you just gotta speak it. You have to speak it, because then there's Lou. Then, I was just last Friday in Springdale. You know, people call and said, what do I do? I said, this is what you do. You rise people up. You get your community and you lift everybody up. You don't hide in shame because of the stigma. You know, the dealers and the devil want us to hide in shame. They want to stigmatize us. As long as we're stigmatized, we're hiding. I won't hide. You know, a dangerous man is one that doesn't have anything to lose. I don't have anything to lose. I lost 2 sons to this. I lost my stepson David in 2002 to drug-induced suicide. I never thought I would lose another. But that day on my couch, when the next day when I started talking to people, it just evolved. We learned from each other. You know, it's unity. It's unity in the community. It's uniting everybody to this problem. We cannot stay silent. You know, I don't just help drug addicts, I help drug dealers too. And some people might think that's crazy, but, you know, if we don't inspire them, they're gonna keep on dealing. I go to juvie, I go to jails, I talk to them. You know, I had a opportunity at a juvenile once. A 14-year-old boy got up and walked out on me when he found out who I was. And what I found out was he was in the big boy jail with my son's drug dealer. And he didn't want to hear what I had to say. 2 weeks later, he came out and cried and held me and said, I'm sorry, I want to help. I want to help my friends. I want to join Sage's Army. And he goes, how do I get a shirt? I said, I got the very first Sage's Army shirt in the truck. It's yours if you honor it. Never seen that kid again until this May that just passed. I was speaking at Jeanette High School, and I was telling the story about that kid, and all of a sudden a hand went up, and I said, do you have a question, son? And he goes, it's me. And I looked, and I was like blown away. I said, get up here, you're going to tell the story. And he got up and he goes, Mr. Carmen and his friend inspired me and said, I do not have to be a victim. Because he is a victim. He wasn't handed a baseball or a basketball or football. He was handed a bag of drugs. He was handed a lifestyle. You know, kids are glorified by the lifestyle of drug use and drug dealing. You know, we got to get to them early. I've been going to the FedUp rally for the last 2 years. The first year, we got hydrocodone rescheduled from a Schedule 3 to a Schedule 2. That's a big deal. You know, there was 800 of us, and we stood in front of the FDA building with Kathleen Sebelius on the 7th floor looking down. The police were pushing us all in, and I was alive. I had a purpose. I had a reason. The second year, we fought the blocks of Hydra. Well, you know, the FDA tried bringing it out under another name. That's how shady they are. You know, we have doctors. I talk to guys, they got pain. They got legit pain. And they're getting 360 Oxy 80s, enough to kill an elephant. And they tell their doctors, look, I don't need this. And he's like, oh, no, just take it, just take it. And I said to him, what do you do with it? He goes, I sell it. I can get $80 on the street for one pill. And that's what feeds it. You know, we say, well, shame on you, but it's easy, you know. I've been to West Virginia. I spoke to the pharmacy class there. They're not trained in addiction. I sit in D.C., I sit in Harrisburg with Gary Tennis, our Secretary of Drug and Alcohol, with doctors that are addicted, with policemen, that are in recovery, with policemen that are in recovery, with paramedics that are in recovery. I have a young man that works for me, Dave. His sister, he lost his mom. She was 50 years old. He lost his mom last May. He lost his little sister. It'll be a year in December. All the prescription pills from a dentist. His older sister, she's in jail. She was a paramedic and a prison guard, and now she's in jail. You know, she goes to jail for 30 days, and then she gets out, and they send her to the DRC program, the Daily Reporting Center, for 8 hours a day. Then they bus her home, and then she sits. Within 3 days, she's gone again. And what I don't understand is, she needs more than just that. Why are we outpatient? You know, I have community meetings back in Irwin once a month, and I had a father there last 2 weeks ago. His son was in rehab 26 times. Why? Where's the red flag there? There's no red flag. Because people just say, well, they gotta want it. Well, isn't it our job to inspire them to want it? I mean, don't we have to show them a better way? You go, you put them in a room for 7 to 14 days and then tell them to go to a meeting? They need longer time. They need more than that. You got to get involved in your community. You know, when you're at a cookout, speak about it. Don't be afraid. I can't shut up. I go to do an estimate for work. I see a picture on a wall of a young man or a young girl, and I ask the parent, you talk to your son or daughter about drugs. Next thing you know, I'm sitting at their kitchen table for 2 hours because they're afraid. I worked in a lady's house one day, and I found out that she's in the business of changing words around to make things look more appealing. I asked her, what do you do? And she said, I'm a legal drug dealer, of good drugs, of course. She's a drug rep. I was so mad. I was so mad. Like, she thinks this is funny. Her and the people she works with, they just sit there and go, oh, we're legal drug dealers. This is funny. I told my wife, I said, I'm not doing the job. I'm not doing it. And she said, you have to separate it. I said, I can't. Three weeks later, the woman walks in my store and goes, Carmen, I'm going to go with that luxury vinyl. I'm going to go with it. She goes, your helper, Dave, really helped me. What a nice young man he is. I said, oh, you like Dave? And she goes, yeah, he's such a nice boy. I said, yeah, it's a shame he lost his mom and his sister. And she goes, oh my God, was it a car accident? I said, no, legal drugs, the good stuff. And she goes, oh my God, I'm so worried about my sons. And I just looked at her, I said, I gotcha. I said, because if you don't show them, Sage's Army, we're farmers. We're planting seeds. We're painters, painting pictures. I had a little girl, I spoke at a school when I first started this. I didn't know what we were. And this little girl sent me an inbox on Facebook, and she goes, Mr. Capozzi, you remind me of this little boy in this movie, but the man in the tower is God. And he gave you the seed to plant in the middle of town. I didn't know what she meant. And I watched it. It's Lorax the movie, the cartoon, the Dr. Seuss. And it's when the little boy goes and he gets out of town and he finds the guy with only dry flower seed. And he comes up to a rock and it says, unless. And he said, what does that mean? He goes, unless somebody like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to change. And he drops the seed. He goes, plant it in the middle of town. Let them all see. And he says, it's not about what it is, it's about what it can become. That's what I do. My son was good, just like Amber, just like all the other kids, all the other parents, the adults. You know, we don't have just kids dying. Last year in Westmoreland County, our highest death rate was between the age of 41 and 55, not the kids. And it wasn't heroin, it was prescription pills. We have to speak up. You know, I was going to bring the Sage's Army truck tonight, but it needed something. It was overheating. It's a good thing I didn't bring it because I never had a place to park it. That truck has created so much awareness. Parents, they see that truck and they pull over and put their kids by it and take a picture. That truck was given to me from a guy from South Africa that's been here 15 years, and he was trying to help a girl. He was enabling her. He didn't know how to help her, so he started coming to my meetings. And one day, I was going past the Ford garage, and I seen this big giant truck lifted, army green with a star on it. And I called my wife. I said, I'm buying a truck. I'm making a Sage's Army truck. She said, don't you dare. So I went home with my tail between my legs, and 2 weeks later, Sia shows up at my store and goes, I had a vision. My Holy Spirit told me to give you a truck. I had an extra truck. He put $10,000 in this big giant lift kit with these big smokestacks. He goes, let's go design the stickers. And that truck has been, it's a moving billboard. Sometimes we get the finger in it, and sometimes we get the thumbs up. You just never know who it is. But you know, if you can get to DC this year, it's going to be huge. The FedUp rally, we had the Rockers in Recovery last year. I got to hang with Billy Joel's drummer. I'm a drummer, and I got to hang with him. It was awesome. This year we're going to have Steven Tyler, Joe Walsh, Cheryl Crow at the, what's it called again?
Unite to Face Addiction.
Unite to Face Addiction. You got to get involved in your community. You got to speak up. My goal is to break the stigma and the shame. You know, I get people, I'm on the phone till 11, 12 o'clock at night. They call my phone and my wife goes, well, can't you answer that tomorrow? No, I can't. You know what I did? I went around the government. You know, in the beginning I used to go and cry to Gary Tennis on the phone, even Kathleen Kane, our Attorney General. You know, I got kicked out of my high school. I was 17 years old. And 30 years later, I got a call to come speak at my high school. And with Kathleen Kane, Dave Mineta from the White House, here I am 30 years later, walking into my high school, speaking to 700 kids and 1,200 parents. That is the blessing that I have today. I miss my son every day of my life. But through his death, I was given a job, and this is what I do. It doesn't matter where you are, what town you live in, I go. I build up young men and young women to be leaders in my community back home. We just got blessed with the Sage's Army headquarters called Sage Haven. And we're creating art expression classes. We're doing, Jim Donovan, the drummer from Rusted Root, reached out to me and said, come sit in my drum circles. So one of the things I want to do is do a drum circle. I had a drum circle with Jim in one of my meetings. And a bunch of people in recovery came, and a few of the guys were like, really, Carm? Really, what is this? I thought we were coming to a meeting. I said, give me an hour and a half of your time. After it was done, they all came up to me and said, wow, that was awesome. I said, did you think about your recovery or your addiction for an hour and a half? They said, no. I said, that's what we wanted you to do. You know, people in recovery, they're constantly worrying. They're constantly worrying about stepping out of line. You know, I went and fought for up in Ligonier. A rehab wanted to come. They're coming. They're called Retreat. And all the townspeople didn't want nothing to do with it. It's a high school, and it's next to an elementary school. And I said to him, I said, you know, you guys all want to stigmatize these people. You all want to, you know, what are they, misfits? And I said to him, I said, you know, while you're sitting up at the local tavern, these people are working steps. They're working a program. But because you're doing a legal drug, that's okay. So, you know, Visit the page. We have over 8,000 people on the page. We have a website that a 15-year-old kid did. He reached out to me and he said, Mr. Capozzi, I can help. His name's Cash, and he went to the first FedUp rally with us. He's an amazing young man, and now he's 17, and he's just amazing. We've, I don't know, I'm starting to ramble now, but you just got to get involved. We got to break the stigma. You know, if this church is the place, then make it the place. You know, I have a church back home that we have our meetings in. That's the place. So people know where we are. Now they know that the headquarters, it's too small for meetings, for big meetings, but, you know, join the page, join the fight, and awareness, compassion, and action. You have to be aware of the problem, compassion for the person that has a problem, and you have to take action. Thank you.